welcome everybody to another exciting edition of Pedal to the Metal Theater. It's your main man, Eddie Monster here. That's right, we've got a good one for all of you out there. That's right, all of you listening, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, wherever it may be. Remember, pedaltothemetalradioshow.blogspot.com. That's the spot to get all the episodes, baby. And hey, listen, while you wait, okay, for Season 6 to come, because Season 5 ended last week, according to the recording of this episode anyways, it did, we've got some content for you. That's right, in the link in the description below, you'll find the link for the YouTube channel. That's right. Click on that link. We've got some content on the YouTube page. That's right. We just covered a couple of things. Rock and Metal News Bite-Sized Editions is what we're calling it. Because, I mean, we talked about Ronnie Radke and his outrageous claim with Godsmack. We also talked about Tool and why they're getting sued. But more importantly than that, okay, my beautiful creatures out there, not only do you get to see this ugly mug all the time on YouTube, but we're also going to be trying to bring you exciting content. There's a whole year ahead of us. That's right. So not only are we going to be doing podcasts on the norm, but we're also going to be giving you content, or at least trying to give you content anyways, on the YouTube channel. We will always try our best. 2025, we're aiming high this year. But let's get into it, because this is not about the YouTube channel. If we wanted to do a podcast about that, we could do it, but we're not. We're going to spare you the boredom on that part. We've got a special film for you guys. So now, as you remember, we've talked about the 90s a couple of times, okay? And one of those times in Pedal to the Metal Theater was episode 1, which was Shock 'Em Dead. Now, you remember that film was released in 1991, and I remember saying it's interesting that they pulled the trigger on this because, lo and behold, there were a couple of things that were going to happen eventually. And we all know 1991 was kind of that year where it was still kind of, the 80s was trying to hang on as best as they possibly could. I mean, let's be honest. You know, Rat would release Detonator, Motley Crue was releasing the Greatest Hits album there, you know, Decade of Decadence. Those bands were still kind of touring. They were still kind of hip and in, but there were a couple of things that happened and eventually. One, in 1991, Cameron Crowe, you guys all know him. He's a famed writer for Rolling Stone magazine. He wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High, as well as so many other amazing films. Would write and direct a film in 1991 that would change the landscape as we knew it. But not only that, there was a certain band that helped Cameron Crowe along the way. That's right. The Revolution was televised, and their name was Nirvana, and it was Smells Like Teen Spirit. When that hit in 1992, everything changed. You don't believe me? Well, let me tell you this. The success of that record pushed the studio to release this film finally, because they saw how much of an impact Nirvana would have. And if you're wondering what film is he talking about, what possibly could he be referring to right now, I am referring to a film that featured a relatively young cast who were the who's who's of the 90s. You know, sprinkled with a couple people who we may have seen in the 80s as well. But they were ready to take charge and create probably one of the most memorable films of the 90s of all time. I am talking about Cameron Crowe's Singles.
Love is a game.
You distinguish yourself by not calling her.
4 days he waits to call me.
Easy to start.
It's a very nice hat you're wearing, and I don't mean that in an Eddie Haskell kind of way.
Hard to finish.
Linda,
Bye, Steve.
I left my blue t-shirt at home.
If you can't find love, you settle for sex.
I'm on the bed right now. wearing something really outrageous.
I think you got the wrong number, lady, but I'll be right over.
In the absence of sex, you go for companionship.
You want to get some dinner? How about some lunch? Have a lunch. Coffee? Water? How about some water?
Soon you're just happy to have a friend.
You know, in the parallel universe, we're probably a scorching couple.
But in this one, neighbors.
Of course, you can't sleep with friends. Singles.
You know, I see other people still.
You don't fool me.
Bridget Fonda.
We made the connection, and when you make the connection, it's like chemistry takes care of itself. I mean, it makes its own decisions, you know?
Campbell Scott.
I was just nowhere near your neighborhood.
Kyra Sedgwick.
Did I overreact? Do you know who this is?
Sheila Kelly.
Could you seat me next to a single guy? I've got a special feeling about you.
Jim True. And Matt Dillon.
Janet, you rock my world.
Singles.
If I make this basket, that's fate telling me to call him. Wait, did no basket mean call him or don't call him? Never mind.
Directed by Cameron Crowe.
Yeah, anyways, all right, welcome back, everybody. As I said, Singles, released September 18th, 1992. And if you're still questioning me on that aspect, let's just look at when Nirvana's Nevermind was released. And that, my friends, was September of 1991. That's right. But let's look at it. So written, directed again by Cameron Crowe. We all know Fast Times at Ridgemont High, This Wild Life. So many amazing films that he wrote. And remember, he was a Rolling Stone contributor, which we would later sort of see the biography of his life in Almost Famous, which would come later. But anyways, the film starts, like I said, this is a who's who of the 90s. Okay, these were like, think about, you got a team and all these amazing actors have retired and you're looking for the young crew, and you've got a decent crew. You've got some guys they're not rookies at all, like Matt Dillon. You may remember from some such amazing films, as Drugstore Cowboy, The Outsiders, Tex, My Bodyguard. You go on and on and on. Matt Dillon was really the veteran in all of this, and he stars alongside Bridget Fonda, yes, related to the Fondas, who her biggest role up to this point was single white female. You had Campbell Scott, who was sort of, he had been in a couple of films, but nothing really amazing, nothing that really stood out. So big opportunity for him. You had Kyra Sedgwick, who was the cousin of the most famous Edie Sedgwick. That's right. And up to this point, she had been in a couple of interesting big films like Born on the 4th of July. You had Jim True Frost, who was really getting his start with this film. You have Bill Pullman, who up to that point had been in A League of Their Own, as well as some other films. You had James Lee Gross, who was kind of a little bit of a veteran. We saw him in Drugstore Cowboy alongside Matt Dillon. And then you had Sheila Kelly, who was in Some Girls. So this was a big opportunity for her as well. But anyways, the film centers around a group of singles who are looking for love. Some of them in the wrong places. Some of them are in the right places but are not making the right decisions. Others need to be guided because they're too stuck in their egotistical brains. But it's not their fault in a way, because they're dreaming big. That's right, because Matt Dillon plays Cliff Ponser. He's the lead singer of a band called Citizen Dick, and they're kind of I don't want to say a big deal, but they're a band that's trying to make it, and Cliff just believes he's the next big thing, even though maybe things aren't quite what they seem to be, at least to us. Anyways, Campbell Scott plays Steve Dunn, and Steve is a train guy. I don't know. He designs train tracks, and he's trying to convince the city of Seattle to invest in a super train because traffic sucks in Seattle at this point in 1992. 92. We're supposed to suspend our reality and believe it's 92. It's really 91 when they're filming this. Yeah, so he plays him. He kind of falls in love with Kyra Sedgwick's character, named Linda Powell. They meet each other at an Alice in Chains concert. That's right, I said it. Alice in Chains. They're in the movie. And she plays somebody who's an environmentalist. So very, very keen about the environment. And then there's Bridget Fonda, who plays Janet Livermore. Okay, she is a neighbor. So this is facility, this building that they all live in, and only singles are allowed to live in this building, I guess. And I believe Bridget Fonda's character, Campbell Scott, Matt Dillon, and Sheila Kelly, their characters live in this building. But Janet is somebody who's in love with Matt Dillon's character, and she is trying everything that she possibly can to win this guy over. She like literally is devoted to this man. Like, you can't get any more devoted than what she is. I mean, even going to the point where she thinks about getting breast implants. That's where she meets Bill Pullman, who is a plastic surgeon. That's right, he's a booby doctor, Dr. Jeffrey. But anyways, so the film just goes on, and it's basically this journey of all these characters and how they finally come to terms with reality. It's either you're in love or you're in it for sex and you're single. That's the name of the game for dating in the early 1990s. That's right. So let's talk about some fun facts, because there's a lot of things to talk about with this film. Once you watch it, it's so nostalgic. For one, you get Alice in Chains. And apparently, when they were going to film, so there's this thing called playback. Okay? And basically what it means is they do it a lot of times with music videos where they tell you, hey, pretend to look like you're playing your instrument, right? And we'll just put the song over it. Usually that's what happens. Well, Alice in Chains was like, fuck that, dude. We play live. And apparently they played live. There's a couple instances where you can obviously tell it's the record, but then there's instances where you're like, no, that's live. And that's them capturing that live, which was pretty fucking cool in my opinion. Anyways, there's also a cameo from Chris Cornell. And it's a voiceless cameo, so he doesn't have a line. But later on, you'll see Soundgarden also perform in the film, which is pretty cool. But apparently, Chris Cornell was supposed to have a bigger role in this film. And apparently, he saw the shooting schedule and all that stuff, and he decided, he had to focus on Soundgarden. And, rightfully so. Soundgarden had an amazing, amazing run at this point, too. But there are a lot of songs. So, apparently, when they had the Citizen Dick, track listing, right? And a lot of the songs were fake. They weren't even done. They weren't even made. They were just fake song titles. Chris Cornell took every single one, almost, and he made songs for almost every single one. One of them made, I think one or two made the film. One of them would later appear on an album, Super Unknown. You guys may remember that record. Yeah, Spoon Man is one of the tracks that was apparently one of the fake song titles, and they took it and they made it, which is pretty fucking cool in my opinion. I was like, holy shit, I did not know that. One of the other things I thought was just so strange, I don't understand actors, first of all. I don't get it. There are things in life that I would and would not do on screen. They would have to be some pretty drastic shit. But the fact that you can't utter the words, I love you, is the reason you turn down a role sounds pretty fucking ridiculous to me. But that's Johnny Depp. And you know what? Johnny Depp's a legend. I don't fuck with him in a bad way. But Johnny Depp was originally apparently supposed to have the role played by Campbell Scott, which was Steve Dunn. But he could not get himself to say I love you on screen. So he turned down the role, and it makes sense. I mean, you know, Johnny Depp has a history of banging his co-stars. So, it obviously just makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, why else wouldn't he be able to? I don't know. That would be no problem. I mean, I get it. Like, I love you is a very cherished kind of word that gets that gets thrown around way too easily. I get it. I'm not here to give you love advice, but it's a movie. It's pretend, you know, and you can love your co-stars. I mean, shit, you know, I have friends that say, hey, I love you, man. That's it. It's that easy. There's also a lot of cool cameos in this film. Eric Stoltz plays a mime. This is one of also Paul Giamatti's first speaking roles. And the only line he has is, what? Go figure. There's also a phone call that Bridget Fonda's character makes, which is very funny. She thinks she's calling Cliff to tell him basically, hey, she's horny and she wants to, you know what I'm saying. But the person she's really talking to is Tad Doyle. That's right. And at the time, he was the lead singer of the Seattle grunge band Tad. Also, Tim Burton has a cameo in this film. That's right. When Debbie goes to this place to record this video for a dating site, the person at the counter looks at the guy and says, hey, he's going to be the next Martin Scorsese. She says his name wrong, but whatever. And that is Tim Burton. Fun little tidbits. This is a lot. I mean, if you look at the trivia stuff, I mean, there is a ton of shit about this film. Little things here and there, like there's a character. Jeremy Piven is also in this film, by the way, and he's one of them. He mentions a name of a teacher, and that teacher is also a name from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So there you go. Overall, it's a decent film. I had a lot of fun watching this. I had watched or tried to watch 2 or 3 other movies before this one. Okay. One of them was completely fucking stupid. And the other one was like, it's okay, but it wasn't a... Maybe I should give it more of a chance because it was seeming more like, I don't know, country than it was rock. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what planet the movie exists on. But this one caught my attention, and it had me watching. There's a lot of good moments in this, a lot of cool moments. The city is almost its own character as well, so the cinematography is just absolutely amazing in this film. I loved it. Seattle is almost its own character, and I love films that do that, where the city is almost, you know, its own thing. And the scene, the music, and everything, the soundtrack is also like its own character. It reminds you sort of like what the Crow soundtrack did for The Crow, or what the Dazed and Confused soundtrack did for that film. Singles right up there, probably one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. So it just, everything just kind of molded and blended in so well together with this film. It was a perfect concoction that I'm always down with. So I definitely suggest checking it out. And right now it's on Tubi. And it's also on Plex. So if you have either or, it's free. You just got to fucking deal with ads. That's it. I mean, what more could you want, right? So think about it. Check it out. I'm going to give the film an A for a final grade. You heard it here. I love it. Everything about it. The outfits, what everybody was wearing, the cars, the scene, the music, the city. Beautiful. Everything about it. Fantastic. Check it out.